let's start off with a couple of ground rules first. Yep. Sige. Ayon. Okay. So hopefully we can have a very respectful conversation here. And as we all know, we are in a time where everyone has their own experiences, challenges, and everything. So hopefully everyone can be respectful and thoughtful. And let's keep our conversations like pretty chill. Okay, pretty chill. Yeah, and as tradition goes, Figma Friday is a pretty chill um, session for everyone. So apart from anything else, let's be cool. I have a drink on one hand and snacks on the other. So hopefully you guys are in a pretty okay spot wherever you are. So yeah, if you want to read on like the expanded code of conduct, you can go to figma.com/code dash of dash conduct so that you can read through the community guidelines for events. Okay, so I just want to formally welcome everyone to this version of Figma Fridays. And one of the things I'm pretty excited about is because we're talking about design system and keyword imposter. I'm excited on how Riel will expand her explanation of what an imposter design system is. Okay, moving next. Okay, just to quickly introduce us, we are Friends of Figma Philippines, and we are a group of people who believe in Figma, but just to take a step back here, Friends of Figma is actually the overall community, overall community of Figma, and Friends of Figma Philippines is one of the chapters here locally, where it's a pretty open group. We'll be sharing the link later on where you can go, but please feel free to check it. It's Friends of Figma Philippines on Facebook. That's our main channel. That's our main channel of like communications. So yeah, the community actually started back in 2018 from a single post in of another community group, and it kind of sparked the inspiration to create a meetup. And ever since then, we've been having meetups actually for both virtual and back then pre-pandemic physical. So yeah, happy to have a conversation with everyone here. So next slide, Chi. Okay. Sige. Just to quickly introduce our speaker for today, I'm pretty excited. So yeah, Riel Mosqueriola is a Filipino product designer. She's from the Philippines and she's currently based in Singapore, working with experience design, and has worked for both small and big startups. She is currently a product designer in Livermore, a personal development app where she designs both the user interface and as well as the design system that the people are using. And she's also from Grab. So if you have any, if you've seen some of the designs for Grab Express and Grab Food, she's probably one of the people who designed it. So yeah, if you want to know more about her, actually, she writes articles as well on Medium. So I think it's Riel M, right? Maybe Riel will be sharing some of her links later. And apart from the one that I've been reading, like I can vouch for her because she's an awesome designer. One of the best people that I've ever worked with. And back then when we're still in the same company, she's extremely proactive with all things design. So yeah, I want to, without any further ado, okay, I'll just give the mic to you, passing down the mic to Riel. Pretty excited for the session. So yeah, take it away.
Oh, so hi everyone. Can you all hear me?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Jelvin, for that intro. And good evening, guys. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you'll get something out of your 6 p.m. of your Fridays. So I'll start sharing my screen. Okay. So, so to start off first, hello everyone. I'm Riel. I'm a product designer, a Filipino product designer based here in Singapore. And before I start, I hope everyone will just give me some applause virtually since wala tayong reactions ngayon. So if you can give applause habang nasa upuan nyo, I'll be glad. So, so next is, before I start off, maybe I'll introduce first or give you uh, 5 facts about me. So, as Jelvin mentioned, I'm a product designer in Livemore, and previously I worked in Grab. So Livemore is actually a personal development app wherein basically we have experts inside the app, and if you have any questions, you can ask these experts about, let's say, mental health, productivity, career, businesses, and so on. And in Grab, I worked as a product designer under Grab Food and Grab Express. So I was part of Grab Food growth, and then eventually I moved to doing Grab Express stuff. So if ever you, one of the feature I did there was group order. So kung nagamit nyo man yun, pero I doubt so. Well, maraming salamat. And then, okay, so aside from that, next thing is I'm a computer science graduate. So I actually career shifted from being a computer science student to being a designer student. I mean, being a designer as a profession. So right after college or university, nag-design na ako. I started building websites and so on and so forth. So yung next ko naman is, I'm actually from Fairview in Philippines. So I consider Fairview as the farthest place in Metro Manila. So Fairview siya. Okay, so yun, joke yun. So, and nung college ako, I studied in Espanya, in UST. So imagine niyo na lang yung 4 hours ride na naisip mo na yung talang buhay mo, wala ka pa sa UST. So yun yung mga struggles ko ng university days. Fourth thing naman about me is, I am Sarah Munting Prinsesa and Judy Abbott era. So if any one of you here na alam kung sino tong mga to, well, magka-same tayo ng age, magkapares tayo ng panahon. I hope kilala niyo rin si Mujako, si Julio at Julia. So one thing is for sure, we're quite old guys kung kilala niyo sila. And lastly, I'm a frustrated music producer. So if there's something that I would be doing kung hindi ako designer, maybe it's being a musician or to produce music or being magsulat ng tula kasi mahilig ako sa mga spoken words. So actually, hindi ko nakikita kung nagme-message kayo. But anyway, okay. So I cannot see the messages since isa lang yung screen ko. But I'll try to, feel free to jump in kung may mga achi and jobs, kung may questions sila along the way. So anyway, so those are the 5 things about me. And those are the career and personal stuff. So now, since sumama kayo sa akin ngayong gabi, I know you are all into this topic, imposter's design system, which means faking it while making it. So I know that every one of us ay mayroong imposter soul sa loob natin. Kung wala man, eh di sana all. So ayun, but anyway, so maybe the question is, why imposter? Bakit ito yung topic ko for today? Why imposter? Kasi when we actually think of the design system nowadays, ano yung mga nagpa-pop kagad sa utak natin? We have Atlassian, we have Shopify's Polaris. So if we get to look at this design system, they're actually huge. They're actually so big that they can afford to have a public face, that they can afford to be used by the public or be checked on by anyone else. So the question is, how about us who is working in small startup, or let's say how about us who are just starting in out with design system? Can we not make one? And continue natin, imposter actually means trying to be someone who is legit, or trying someone to be, or in a lack of better term, it's about faking it. So itong mga sila Atlassian, sila Shopify, I call them as the legit design system. And for me personally, if I define legit design system, they are built by elite, meticulous, and attractive team of designers and developers. So yun lang, sila yung may mga magagandang photo na high-res pag makikita nyo sa mga websites nila, built by ganito, ganyan. So sila yon. So yung next question is, paano naman yung mga imposters design system? Who are the people behind this? So kung sila ay the elite, meticulous, and attractive, so tayo yung we built by one or two attractive designers. So yun lang siya. So pili na lang kayo, do you want to be the elite, meticulous, attractive, or masaya na kayo sa attractive? So ako, so far masaya pa naman ako sa pagiging attractive designers lang. Kahit one or two lang kami. So anyway, so if I take a step back ngayon, so ito yung mga alam natin. Ito yung mga very popular going back. It's Shopify, Adobe, ano pa ba, Atlassian again, Salesforce, at marami pang iba. And actually, they're so comprehensive, di ba? Na parang, again, going back to the question, paano na nga ba tayo? Paano tayo mga imposter? So for today's topic about imposter design system, I'll be sharing to you how to build like a legit design system for small scale or for small startups. So how do we go from being this pixelated clown to trying to be this meticulous and elite attractive design system? So maybe just a heads up, the way I'll be doing it is I'll have demo for every points that I'll be sharing. And also at the same time, yung goal ko is not for you guys to be as big as this Atlassian. As I mentioned, it's composed of big teams. So this one, we will try to be, kung ako isang small startup ngayon, or kung isa lang ako, at ako lang kaisa-isang designer, what are the mindsets or the practices or the patterns that I can do so I can build somehow a legit design system. So I hope everyone is ready. Okay. So now, moving next is, bababa lang tayo ng konti and I'll share with you first. So let's go just basic lang. What is a design system? For anyone, because I don't know if any one of you guys is just here to explore or are newbies or experienced one. But for the question, what is a design system? Sabi ni UXdesign.cc, ano daw siya? The design system is a single source of truth kung saan yung groups of elements or group of design elements is being used by the team to develop the product. And it evolves constantly. So in short, si design system raw ay isa siyang repository, or isipin na lang natin, isa siyang, hindi ko alam kung ano pa yung term ng repository. Okay, isa siyang repository where you find, or inventory, where you can see all the different kinds of design elements. And this is the source of truth that can be used by designers or engineers or PMs or whoever who wants to use to build the product. So yun sa design system. So ngayon, since I know most of us are product designers, so I know we love to solve problems. So ano ngayon yung problems na sinosolve ni design system? What are the problems design system is trying to solve? So I'll be sharing, so basically tatlo lang naman siya. Okay, minarrow down ko siya sa tatlo, pero I'm pretty sure marami pa iba. So the first one is inconsistency. So as you can see in this portion, makikita natin na let's say for learn more, merong 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 kinds of buttons. And the way design system solves it is it unifies the different kinds of buttons into one. So later I'll be sharing ano ba yung mindset of being consistent. And ano rin ba yung problema kapag we have inconsistent buttons? Inconsistent buttons or the inconsistent design elements, basically it leads to inconsistent human behavior. So yeah, simple as that. So yung first part natin of the problem is trying to solve. Second problem is about efficiency. So, okay. So, meron akong meme dito. So, explain ko yung meme, syempre. So, inefficiency, what I'm trying to say is that hindi lang yan naapektuhan yung designers, but it also affects the engineers. So, imagine there's two designers going to one engineer and they are actually creating the same button. So, every time there will be a new button or a new tab to be coded, the engineer would say, oh, okay, it's a new innovation. It seems like every time he's about to do some coding, it's always about innovation, innovation. Well, in fact, he can actually just, if designers would be consistent enough, then engineers would save a ton of time reusing the same code all over again. So that's how design system is solving inefficiency. And third point, the problem it solves is insecurity. So being an imposter, and I am an imposter, insecurity is in my bloodline. And it is also a problem being solved by design system. Why? I hope you came to a point wherein you ask yourselves, am I doing the right design? Am I using the right button? Or sometimes you get to the point wherein I actually don't know what I'm doing. Okay, ano yun yung messenger? Repeat ko lang. Okay. So how design system solves insecurity? It solves in such a way that because it is the source of truth, as long as you get your elements from this design system, then no shit will happen. I mean, you're on the right track. So now, those are the three things, ano lang, parang pahapyaw lang of basics of design system, what design system is, and how design system is trying to solve these three major problems. So with that, I'll now move to the big part. Okay, no, the major one is again how to build like a legit design system for small scales. Yeah, highlight ko lang yung small scales. So in here, I'll be sharing with you guys about three mindsets and two practices. So in the first part, I'll be sharing about having a consistent mindset, okay, or having a mindset that creates consistency. Okay, pinaraphrase ko lang. Second is how to build components that scales. Third is using variants and toggles to create efficiency. Fourth is naming, wherein I'll be showing how I name my icons. And fifth is how to document using Figma. So, wait lang. Check ko lang kung merong katanungan. Okay. Cool. Wala naman. So yun yung 5 things that I'll be sharing with you guys. And I hope maging masaya itong natin, topic. So I'll now start with the first one. Consistency. So basically, ang point ko dito is consistency is actually based on functionality and context, not on fonts, colors, and sizes. So ano bang ibig sabihin mo, Riel, sa ang consistency ay based sa functionality and context? So remember yung problema natin kanina. Our problem before was, if let's say for this example, there are actually 5 kinds of learn more. There are 2 kinds of sign on. So this is the inconsistency problem that that is happening, or we're trying to solve. And minsan, pag natutunan natin yung consistency, what happens is, boom, lahat na lang ng buttons pare-parehas kasi consistent tayo. So kailangan ko ng login button, kailangan ko ng sign up button, kailangan ko ng forgot password. Button sila lahat. So, pare-parehas ko na sila gagawin. Tapos sasabihin mo, okay, nakakain sa design system, so I won't be insecure. Okay, anyway, so how should we think about consistency? So dito na pumapasok yung sinasabi kong functionality and context. Functionality is how it works. So paano ba siya gumagana? Does it work as a button? Does it work as a navigation, as a tab, as a slider, and so on and so forth? But it doesn't stop there. You have to ask yourself, so if you were able to identify the functionality, the next step is identify the context. Ano ba context nito? Ang question na pwede mong itanong sa sarili mo, so ito yung next slide ko, to keep in mind first, how does it work, functionality. Second is when and how to use it. That's where context comes in. And sometimes for me, I add the question of hierarchy inside context. So keep in mind these 2 things when you think about consistency. They should be consistent in terms of functionality and context. They should share the same function, how it works, and you should have set a rules of when and how to use it. So I'll do some demo time. So I'll be showing to you the consistency mindset using buttons and cards. Okay, let me go to my Figma. Cool. Okay, I hope all of you guys see my screen. Kung hindi man, Chi and Jobs, kayo na lang magsabi sa akin. So in here, basically, you can see 3 types of buttons. I have what I call, okay, so going back tayo dun sa functionality. So let's say, kailangan ko ng register screen. Ano to well-scripted to. So kailangan ko ng register screen. So ngayon, let's say meron ako mga use cases. Isip tayo ng use cases. Use cases. So I'll just go on the spot. Use cases is I hope you guys are familiar with use cases. So use cases basically, ano ba? Parang what are the jobs to be done of a user or ano ba yung mga, hindi siya test cases, basta what are the things that a user will be doing inside this specific field. So yung statement niya mostly ay, hold on, okay, yun. Let's say, as a user, I want to register. Okay, one use case. As a user, I want to register via Google. And next is as a user, I want to register via Apple ID. Okay. So, since si register screen, ang goal niya ay definitely kailangan ko ng buttons. Yung alam ko na sa isipan ko, kailangan ko ng buttons. So, meron akong buttons and meron akong mga buttons. So, next isipin ko na yung context. First use case ko is I want to register. And si register for me is it's a call to action or mataas yung hierarchy niya. So, that's why I've built this call to action buttons. So, just to sidetrack, ano siya, yung process ko normally was I create the screens and from there I create the components. Because nung bata-bata pa ako, way back then, iniisip ko, magsisimula ka dapat sa mga maliliit, tapos palaki ng palaki hanggang makagawa ka ng screens. Pero yeah, nagiba na yung process ko. I don't know if it's something you do, but basically sa akin, nagsisimula ako sa very rough design. Then from there, I pick yung mga gagawan ko na components. So sa design na to, naisip ko na kailangan ko ng orange button. So I'll just drag it in. So kunin ko na lang sa buttons demo. And there. So anong function niya? Function niya, I will make this button function as call to actions. So yun yung context niya at functionality niya. So ngayon, pagdating naman sa register via Google, register. Pagdating naman sa, I want to register via Google and Apple ID. So ngayon, yung hierarchy nila, definitely, hindi siya kasing high ng hierarchy ni register. So hindi ko siya pwedeng gawing call to action kasi it would lead to, too much prominence na ang goal ko lang naman ay si user ay dapat mag-register. So ngayon, definitely, so ang gagawin ko ay, now I have supporting CTA and tertiary. So sila yung choices ko. But so far, what fits me the most is yung tertiary buttons na ginawa ko. So Riel, bakit ganun? Meron kang supporting CTA. Eh di ba yung register via Google mo tsaka Apple ID mo ay supporting call to action siya. So good question yun kung natanong niyo man yun. So basically, kaya hindi ko siya ginagamit kasi the rule I've set or the context I've set for supporting CTA is it should be a counterpart or a supporting of my call to action, which is, since prepared siya, ito ko siya ginagamit. If let's say I have an onboarding screen where register is the CTA, so I use this kind of style for the counterpart of register, which is login. So kaya hindi ko siya magagamit. So, mamaya makikita niyo rin yung documentation kung paano ko naset tong mga rules na to. But anyway, so in that case, I'll be using this tertiary. Okay, lagyan ko lang ng icon. And then, another tertiary button. Okay. Follow tayo ng 8 pixel rule. Kung gumagamit man kayo nun. Okay, 24. Layo ko lang konti. 32. And then register. via Google. Okay. Register via Apple ID. So, yun. So, yun siya. Going back again, function nila, lahat sila yung buttons, but the way they're different from each other is based on their context. So that's how I do it in buttons. And let's say naman, I will do it via cards. Nasaan yung card demo ko? Card demo. Okay. So meron akong 4 kinds of cards. So functionality nila, lahat sila ginagamit ko to display content in a card format. Pero their context differs. So I have here a card which is I call default. So tip lang, if wala kayong maisip na pangalan sa card nyo, at saka yung unang-unang card na ginawa nyo or element na ginawa nyo, pwede nyo siyang tawagin na default o tawagin nyo siyang generic. Ayun lang. So dahil wala akong maisip sa pangalan na to, siya yung default card ko. Or in any case, if kailangan ko ng card and this card supplies what I need, then I use default. Next is featured. Si featured, ginagamit ko siya if my use case is, not use case, if my goal is to highlight a content in the screen. So I use featured. But if I want to highlight and to make something really, really prominent and be on the top, I have this big card. And lastly, I have context where it supports experts. Kasi sa app namin, meron kami mga experts. So, in short, ang laman nitong image na to ay dapat laging tao. So, that's how I define them. So, again, remember the 2 questions you have to ask yourselves. How does it work? And next is, when and how I should use this element. Okay? So, babalik na ako sa aking deck. Okay, so we're done with 1, consistency. Now, I'll go move to scalability. Wait, mag-break lang ako. Okay, so next, scalability. My goal is think globally and design extremely. So what I'm trying to say is, if ever you're building, if ever you're building apps that is being used, let's say in different parts of the world, lalo na Asian countries, then I bet localization is a big problem of yours. Na parang magde-design kayo ng English, tapos darating yung content designer or yung content writer na may aram siya sa Malaysian, sa Indonesian, sa ganito, sa ganyan. Tapos pagsalpak ng content, wonky na. Hindi na sustain nung design element yung localization. So, yun. So, yun yung isang na-experience ko nung I started doing products na hindi lang English version, but I have to cater for different languages. And I would say na even though you are designing for, let's say, English version or only for Filipinos, I mean, please do think what would happen if this goes long, if this gets translated. So alam mo yun, and always have a North Star in mind, not just design the MVP. Well, I know PMs love cutting off our designs for the MVP version. I mean, that's their skill to cut off our North Star, but still design the North Star. So aside from the localization, another way of designing extremely is basically the edge cases. Not the part wherein what happens kapag, not the part ng empty states, alam nyo na yun, pero the part of, let's say, nag-type ka sa search bar, ano ngayon yung itsura niya kapag 100 characters yung in-input ko. Or let's say, merong 3-line content ang isang card. So, paano ko ipapakita yun? So, now I'll be doing again demo time. So, actually, feeling ko matatapos tayo ng maaga. Ng demo time about how to use scalability, how to achieve scalability using auto layout and resizing. So, I'll go now. Wait, baka may question lang kayo. Okay, wala naman. Cool. So, I'll go back to my Figma. Okay, I'll have my tags demo. Okay, so this kind of component na meron ako si tags, ginagamit ko siya for this card. So, ito na yung instance niya. So, pakita ko lang kung paano siya gumagana. So, itong si content na to, si tag na content type, let's say, nag-input ako ng, thank you. So nag-expand nag-expand siya on its own. So ngayon, yung sinasabi kong example ng extreme cases, if let's say, yung thank you ay kailangang ibang language. So try ko lang, thank you in French. Thank you in French, tas Filipino. Okay. Okay. So kung copy-paste ko siya. So still, sustainable siya or kaya niyang mag-scale on its own. So, kung isa-sample ko yun dito, and, yan, mag-scale din naman siya. So, I'll show you how it's scaling. So, basically, gagawin ko na lang ay, ano ba magandang gawin? Sige, detach ko na lang. Alam ko hindi ito yung mautak na paraan. Alam ko ito yung mautak na paraan para hindi ako magkamali. Okay. Ayun lang pala. Okay, so meron ako ditong content. Let's say, gawa ko ng rectangle. Okay. Tapos, kunin ko lang yung color. Tapos, nalagay ko ito sa taas. Okay. So, meron na ako nito. So, ngayon, ang gagawin ko, I'll be using this auto layout. So, bumaba siya kasi naka-auto layout ako pa vertical direction. Pero gagawin ko siyang, kat ganito siya. Hindi pwedeng ganito. Sabi ko na nga ba, hindi ako talaga on design system eh. Wait. Uulitin ko ulit. Okay. Set ko na lang yun. Yun. Sa wakas, hindi siya pumalpak. Okay, so ang gagawin ko, ibigit na ako siya, using yung layout, then magsiset ako ng padding ko sa tigkabilang side. Let's say gusto ko 8, 8, and then 4, and then 4. So yan siya in action. So kung gagawin ko tong component, create component, check ko yung instance niya. So ganun lang siya. So ito yung tip ko. As much as possible, don't set the fixed width. So, kasi pag sinet ko yung fixed width nito, kapag humaba na yung title, wala na. Mag-overflow na siya. So, the best way to do, if let's say you're doing buttons, you're doing tags, or anything, just have, instead of having a fixed width, have a fixed padding. So, kung titignan niyo dito, ang padding natin ay 8, 8. So, kahit isang letra lang siya, 8 pa rin, and 4 pa rin yung top. And kahit humaba siya, ganun pa rin yung padding niya. So, it scales even though you have short or long content. And if I check naman this one, so let's say, so yun yung easy part. Kaya lang natin mahirap. So, ito naman, si card ko. So, pag nagmahabang content ako, so kaya kong humaba ng maraming beses. Okay? Okay yun. So, paano ko naman siya ginagawa? So, itong mga ganito, actually complex siya kasi kung titingnan nyo, ay ilang patterns yung ginagamit ko. Meron akong image, meron akong text, meron akong content type. So, for me to do it, reset all overrides ko lang. I created the instance, and then detach instance ko na lang. Okay. So, detach instance. So,
Yes.
Yes? Merong question?
I was wondering if you can share the link sa Figma file na pinagkalaroan natin.
Sige. Hindi ko siya ma-share kasi work file. Ano siya? Work sa work ko.
Okay.
Pwede kong gawin, I'll create a Figma and then doon ko na lang i-export lahat ng ginamit ko for here.
Okay.
Since naman ng mga demo. So sorry guys, hindi ko siya ma-share sa inyo kasi as in sa work ko siya ginagamit.
Sa work team mo, kumbaga.
Okay. Oo, sa work team ko talaga.
Okay.
So ito yung mismong nasa app.
No worries. Sige.
Okay. Sige. Okay, so, okay. Na-detach ko na sila lahat. So, ngayon, let's say, nag-set ako na gusto ko 8 pixels to, pero makikita nyo dito, ayoko nyo. Sorry. Bakit gawin ko siyang 4? Okay. So let's say, ang structure ko is, gusto ko 8 pixels padding, and then 4 to. So I'll do first is to combine or to auto layout this 2, which is 8 pixels. So okay, kita nyo na, naka-combine na sila. And then next thing is, since ito ay 4 and 4 na, what I'll do next is I'll just auto layout these 3. Wait lang. Yon. And then, yan. Ano na siya? If I change yung frame, pwede ko siyang i-change it to 8 pixels o kaya 2 pixels. Pero yung baba lang yung nagbabago. Kasi yun yung mga sinet kong rules. So in that case, if I make my title longer, hindi siya nag-overflow. So alam ko yun yung next question. So paano mo nagagawa na hindi siya nag-overflow? Hindi siya nag-overflow is because yung resizing ko is naka-fixed width. Pero actually, dapat hindi, ang best practice actually for me is fill container instead of fixed width. So, pag hug content yung ginamit nyo, yan, mag-overflow siya. Pero kapag fill container, i-fill lang niya yung sinet mong width for this. And also the same thing, dapat fill container lang siya. So, yan. So, if let's say, gagawin ko na tong component, like. So, gagawin ko siyang component. So, dapat nagsiscale. Okay. So, nagsiscale siya. Okay. So, yun yung how I'm using auto layout and resizing for the scalability. So, yung key points is one, don't use fixed width, but instead use fixed padding. Just do play around sa yung auto layout. This is saving grace. Second is try to have fill container para mag-move siya sa next line, or I would mostly suggest fill container. And then, so kung titignan niyo to pala, yung width niya is fill container, but then the height, I'm doing the hug contents. Kasi kapag fill container ko yan, yun, sira na siya. So dapat hug contents para dynamic siya or dumadami ng dumadami. Okay, so yun yung, meron ba akong ibang demo na natira? Okay, so yan. So remember those two things for scalability. And also, apart from that, the most important thing you have to remember is always have the North Star and think of those not edge cases, but the extreme cases. Okay, so tapos na yung demo time natin with, what's this? With scalability. Now, I'll move to efficiency. So alam ko ito yung one thing na sinasolve ni design system. So ang goal natin dito is minimum effort but maximum impact. So how should we show efficiency using Figma? So we can use variance and toggles for it. Okay, so demo time ulit tayo. So I hope nag-enjoy kayo sa demo time. Let me check my questions. Okay. So let me go to the Figma. Okay. So ano nga yung topic ko? Okay. Variance and toggles. Okay, so variance and toggles. So si variance, alam ko hip na hip siya lately dahil isa siyang magandang feature ni Figma. And yung toggles, it's something I've shared in the Figma community and napakalaking tulong niya sa buhay ko at sana makatulong rin sa buhay niyo. Okay, buttons demo. So kanina, nakita nyo, meron akong isang ginawa kanina na nagtatoggle ako ng may icon at walang icon. Okay, so masaya siya. At nagda-dark mode din. At yan, may dark mode, an icon, and wala. So, paano siya ginagawa? So, let's say, okay, so let's say itong si supporting CTA, lagyan natin siya ng, okay, si supporting CTA, gawin natin siyang guinea pig natin. So how do we do efficiency using toggles and variants? So ngayon, let's say ang scenario natin is I came to a point wherein I have to create a screen and I have to have a button using a supporting CTA. Pero gusto ko merong icon. Kasi bukod sa cool siya and fancy, kasi para ano ba, less cognitive load. Pag nakita yung icon, ay alam ko na kung ano to. So how would we do it? So I'll do a demo of it. Let's say, gamitin ko itong si orange na dark mode ay false. Okay? So ilalabas ko lang siya. Detach ko muna siya sa instance. Okay, cool. Ba't nawala? Okay, let's go na. Nagawa na nga lang ako na. Stroke. For the radius. Okay, yeah. So, ito siya ngayon. So, let's say, kailangan ko ngayon ng icon. So, gamit na lang siguro ako ng circle to represent isa siyang icon. At okay, so ngayon, gamit tayo ng auto layout para magamit naman natin yung tinuro natin kanina. So, gusto ko ay 8 pixels lang yung gap nila. Okay? And then, pero ngayon ang problema, so ngayon, paano pag mahaba yung text? So, pangit siya, hindi pwedeng ganyan, di ba? So, dapat pag humaba yung text, naka-center pa rin siya. So, paano naman natin gagawin yun? So, okay, I'll move it here. Let's say, gusto ko lang ng move ko na lang dito. Okay. So, 16, gusto ko ng 16 pixels sa gilid. And then, gusto ko rin ng 16 pixels na padding. Okay. Okay, na-achieve na natin. So, we have 16, 16, and we have top part na 13, 12. Kasi hindi lang siya pantay. So, ngayon, para gumit na siya, yun, nagitna natin. Ang kusay, di ba? So, yun. So, ang ginawa ko ay itong frame na to, na in-auto layout ko kanina, pinalitan ko lang yung position niya sa gitna. And then, ngayon, gagawin ko to rin ng auto layout. Pero ba't di siya nag-auto layout? Ay, sige. Anyway, wait. Okay, hindi ko na pala kailangan auto layout. Ayun, yun pala, na-auto layout ko na siya. Cool. So, meron akong 12, 12, 16, 16. So, tawag ito, hindi to yung pinaka, hindi ko sinasabi ito yung pinaka the best way. Kung meron kayong mas madaling paraan, teach me. So, ito lang siya kung paano ko siya ginagawa. So, ngayon, kung gagawin ko na siyang component, create component. So, ngayon, iti-test natin muna yung scalability niya. Dapat mag-scale siya. Okay, successful. Okay. So, alam ko sasabihin niyo, Riel, di yan scalable kasi lumagpas. Sorry, kasi yung Apple, yung phone screen size ko, 375 lang. So, ayun. So, may excuse ako. But anyway, yan siya. So, nasolve natin yung scalability. Ngayon naman ay yung paggamit ng variants and paggamit ng toggles. So, paano ko ngayon gagamitin yung toggles? So since ito, same sila ng function, just going back to consistency, same sila ng function and same sila ng context. So, ipapasok ko siya sa loob kasi variant siya. Okay, cool. And then, gagamitin ko. So, ito na yung toggle part, yung fun part. So, sabi dito, ang gagawin ko, dark. So, gagamitin ko siya sa dark mode, which is false. Ay, hindi pala. Hindi ko siya gagamitin sa dark mode. Pero, ito yung dadagdag niyo. Icon should be set to true. So, I have icon, true, dark mode equals false. Okay. So, kung ginawa nito sa button na to, ito rin yung gagawin niyo sa the rest. Kasi kung hindi, magkakaroon ng error sa Figma. So, ito, dadagdagan lang natin siya ng icon. Icon equals false. And dark mode is false. Tama yan. And ito rin, icon equals false, dark mode. true. Pero, okay, so hindi nagtatapos dyan kasi since naka-boolean tayo, true and false, even add number to, so dapat mag-create din tayo ng isa pa kasi magkaka-error din. So, for time's sake, nalagyan na natin ng isa pa. Okay. Tapos, gamitin ko na lang yung text nito. Text ko ay white. Okay. Ay, ba't nawala? Saan yun? Stroke ko ay white. Ba't nawala yun? Ayun. Okay, stroke ko. So, ito ay isa-set ko as icon true, dark, false. So, ngayon, now, the application part, since, huwag tayo kumuha dyan. Let's say, para maiba naman, kuha tayo dito sa assets natin. So, buttons demo, kunin ko to sa supporting CPA. Then, yun, icon. Dark mode. Meron akong config. Pero anyway, hindi ko napapansin yan. So, yun. So, ito yung good thing with the toggle. So, isipin mo lang ano yung kailangan mong button and then pwede mo nang magamit yung mga functions na toggle to add icon or to make it dark mode. So, try ko lang isolve tong problema kung bakit siya icon to dark mode. Okay. Dark mode. Okay, try natin ulit. Anyway, ayoko na siyang isipin. Pero okay, ayun siya. So, just to recap, so we're achieving efficiency, as I mentioned, using variance. So kanina, ang naitutulong niya sa atin ay, because meron tayong variance, I just have to pull out that button from my repository. And then using the toggles, it helps me to create what I need or to get what I need. Let's say I need a supporting CTA with an icon. So, ganun siya gumagana. Okay, cool. So now, I'll move to the fourth part. Okay, buhay pa naman sila. I hope buhay pa kayo. At ang daming demo. Yes!
Hello. Sorry.
Yes, Jobs.
May I ask you to
Sure.
please share the screen share real quick?
Okay. I mean, you mean stop sharing?
May
Okay.
ask you to, yeah. I just want to apologize to everyone who is experiencing some viewing problems on the presentation. I've received some messages. It's not on your end naman, Riel. We have some questions in line, if ever. You want to hear that while you ano?
Yes. So kung meron kayong katanungan, feel free to question. Actually, kahit hindi naman about design system, anything about design or anything about how far Fairview is, I'll be happy to answer. Or anything about Judy Abbott and Mojako.
Grabe, noon time show talaga. Ay, noon time.
Oo.
Late afternoon.
Hindi ko rin alam kung naabutan niya ba yung MTV.
Siyempre.
Magandang tanghali ba yan? Oh my, I'm so old.
Dali while you whip up the presentation.
Oh, Erickson has a question.
Ayun, there you go.
Okay. So, Erickson, how do you handle the typography and design system? Do you make it as variance or as textile? Oh, nice question. Actually, I have a textile. Okay, to be honest, ginagawa ko siya as variance. Mamaya pwede ko ipakita sa inyo kung paano ko ginagawa yung typography ko. So, mas prefer ko na ginagawa ko siyang variance or as a component rather than textile. So, bakit? Bakit? Kasi for me, mas nadadalian akong mas scale siya. And for me, so personal opinion ko na to, and for me ay mas madali siya. I mean, mas ano ba, mas may rules akong nasiset. Kasi pag textile, ang problema ko pag textile kasi, if a new designer comes in, let's say 5 sila, pili lang sila ng kulay, pero hindi nila alam yung rules. Pero if I make the typography as variance at stick na yung rules nun, wala na silang magagawa. So actually may pros and cons siya. So kaya it depends on how you want to do it. Pero ako, I vote for variance and not the textile. At meron ba yung isang question? Design portfolio tips or can I still answer, Jebs?
Sige, go ahead.
Okay.
I-share mo ba screen mo?
Yes, I will. Okay, sure. So I can share my screen now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
But if you wanna answer the question from Carla, which is
yes,
design tips and portfolios, how do you present them? Maybe you can share a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Ay, hindi ito. Ay, dapat mo i-share. Stop sharing. Wait lang. Share screen of the Chrome tab. Okay. So sige, answer ko muna yung kay Carla. Design portfolio tips or suggestions for no professional experience in design. Ano bang design portfolio tips ko? Well, okay. First and foremost, I hope meron ka ng pet projects na nagawa or portfolios on or mga it doesn't have to be you na work mo during internship or what. So kahit pet projects, okay lang siya. And then, also at the same time, at usually ang mga nakikita kong portfolio for non-experienced people ay mga redesigns. Pero ito lang I mean, personally, don't go showing a redesign which just basically means it's a beautified version of the old one. I mean, yeah, for me, it's a big no-no na pinaganda mo lang. Na-redesign ko na. As I said, don't redesign screens, but redesign experiences. So in your portfolio, highlight your process in doing the redesign. Let's say nakita mong problema, let's say nag-UI audit ka nung screens or user experience mo, audit mo yung screen. So sabihin mo, ito yung mga problema, and this is how I solved it using, let's say, I did some affinity mapping, I did some site map or mind mapping, and then here's my wireframe, and then here's my mockup. Kasi personally, it's now more of how you think rather than how beautiful your work is. Kasi yung design per se, aesthetics, madali na lang siya matutunan. And actually, some are gifted with it. So, sana all sila yun. But most of the time, it's more of how critical thinker you are. And that's the best that you can highlight. So, wag mo na munang isipin kung pangit or maganda yung mga font styles mo. Pero make sure naman na readable sila. Pero ayun, I would say focus and highlight those processes, thought process, those methods that you use, and how you're really trying to solve it. So ayun, I hope Carla nakatulong. Message ka lang ulit. So going back, okay, tapos na tayo sa third point. So I'll move to naming structure for your foundations and components. So ito, hindi na siya mindset, practice na siya. Actually, feeling ko since kanina pa practices na yung pinapakita ko. But for naming, magbibigay ako ng demo about naming icons. So ito, very quick lang siya. So to share my screen, okay. Kailangan ko kasi mag-switch. Okay, share. So now my Figma, if I go to my icons, so di ba ang saya, konti lang nila. Okay, so konti lang talaga yung mga icons na ginagamit namin. So for the icons, as you can see, I usually use this kind of format. First name, first letter, name, modifier, modifier, and modifier. So, tandaan nyo lang lagi, first letter, name, modifier times 3. So, as much as possible, I try to have five segments of my icons. So, kung titignan mo to, I have here A, arrow, chevron left. A, arrow, chevron right. B, bookmark. C, something. C, check and field, and so on. So, bakit yun yung ginagawa ko? Kasi, mas organized siya. Di ba ang pangit ng dahilan ko? Okay, magsasample tayo. So, let's say, kukuha ako ng, gusto ko ng title bar. So, ito yung title bar ko. And then, gusto ko itong palitan ng dot icon. So, yung kinaganda niya kasi, because I already have in mind, I need the dot icon, I just look for D, and then there goes dots. And let's say, gusto ko ng arrow. So, okay, A is for arrow, and then chevron, I need something right. No, something left. Bakit right, pero ganyan pa rin. Okay, anyway, hindi ko alam ba siya na ganyan. Pero yun yung context of why I'm doing it. Nang meron akong first letter of the name and ito yung format. So, okay, so Riel, I mean, bakit nga my first name? Kasi, pag wala akong first name, which is ito, tingnan nyo, arrow, close, share, dots, bookmark, ganyan. Ang mangyayari ay, if kailangan ko ng, let's say, ng icon, okay, so ang mangyayari ay, pag kailangan ko ng icon, let's say, I go to assets, and I check the icons demo, yun na. Personally, ayoko lang na nakikita ko na magulo lahat. So, isipin mo, i-scan, let's say meron akong 100 icons at hindi siya format in that way. Imagine I would go through 100 icons just to find what I'm looking for. So, let's say kailangan ko mag-add ako ng bar and then gagamitin ko yung ganong, kukuha ko sa icon demo. So, ganito siya. Yung bookmark na sa baba na instead after siya ng arrow. So, I have to still go through all of this para lang makita ko yung kailangan ko. So yun, for me, that's the beauty of arranging it alphabetically. And also the good thing, dahil ang alphabets are may 26 letters, so I just have to go through 26 characters instead of going through hundreds or thousands of icons. So ganun siya. And since I'm maintaining a dark mode, so yeah, meron ako, kaya makita nyo madami siya kasi may dark mode version ako. Or minsan meron akong thick and thin versions. So that's just basically how I'm naming my icons. And let me go back to my last demo. Okay, so now we're nearing to the last part, which is documentation. So I just want to share to you, siguro ito yung sobrang kinaiba ng mga legit design system sa mga imposters design system, yung documentation nila. Well, basically, meron kasi silang, they have a big team. That's why they can afford to document. Pero even though we're small, we should actually document. And I think last week I saw this good documentation, and I'll share with you how I'm using it in my Figma files. So I'll do a documentation of it, a demo instead. So sa design system ko, I have an overview documentation. It's here if you follow my arrow. And then the rest is yun na yung mga mga components and patterns ko. So in overview, I have what I call my inventory index. So nakita ko to sa isang Figma YouTube video. So dito sa inventory index ko, nililayout ko per category yung mga patterns and components ko. So let's say for data input and output forms, I have a button, I have input fields. For content card lists, I have cards, lists, categories, and so on and so forth. So ang ginagawa niya is it helps me and the future designers to know more the rules and regulations of the system we have in the company. So let's say I want to check all about buttons. So I have a link here and I go to frame and then boom, I have the whole documentation of buttons. So ano yung what my buttons documentation comprises? Kung anong laman niya. Sensya na. So I have here the different kinds of buttons I have. So I also have a use case. So ginagamit ko yung use case, para lang malaman lang ng designer na anong ginagawa, or anong purpose nitong specific button na to. And then I use this for the rules and regulations. So as I mentioned, call to action, it functions as the call to action or primary. I have here the supporting. Actually, the last no-brainer na lang talaga siya. It's self-explanatory. Pero one thing I can say is, okay, ito. Meron akong mga arrow buttons. So, ang use case niya is, ang use case is when user navigates from one screen to another. Kasi meron kaming feature wherein it is a progressive kind of user interaction. So that's why we have arrow buttons. So aside from that, I have screenshots para makita ng designer paano siya ginagamit. Like this one and this one. So these are all photos. And then I'm stating here how it should be used. This one is only used in white background. Ito sa blue-green. Ito yung for dark mode. Ito for colored backgrounds. So, and let's say, and also another thing, I have a complete button. So, ang use case niya is when user completes, a series of tasks or actions. So, sinasabi ko dito na it must go together with arrow icons to show progress and completion. So, ganun ko siya din ng document. So let's say, gusto ko makita yung arrows na yan. So, ito siya. So, ito siya lahat. And then, if I want to go back to document, just go back to document. So if I want to go back to overview ulit, go back to overview. So another thing, let's say cards. Go to frame. So I have here the documentation of my cards. So I have here the screenshots, use case if I need to tell any use cases, and then some rules and regulations using this. Using this style or using this text. Ano pa ba? So yun, kaya diba sabi ko meron akong big card. Okay, ba't pop yung name niya? Pero yan, si big card to. So sinasabi ko na dito na ang use case niya is when user views the top content or the most popular content. So kasi dito sa screenshot ko, I'm using it it is placed at the top of the section called popular. And also, if you go inside popular, it's also at the top. So, ganun yung rules niya. So, and I have two variants for it. An image one and a colored one. So, if I go to the mismo totoong document ko, so kayo na kasi nakita niya puro demo yun. Ito yung legit na variants niya. So, I have big, so colored. So, parang, let's say, ito yung instance. Sige, wag ganun. Sabihin natin na gusto kong kumuha sa cards ko. Okay, kuha ko sa cards. Sana yung big ko. Okay. So, yun lang. So, gusto ko ng colored green. So, ng colored blue. So, ng dark mode. So, ganun ko siya ginagamit. So, naalala ko lang pala. Okay, so basically, yun yung how I'm doing documentation. I have what I call again, let's go back. I have the overview. Ito yung inventory index ko. So this is evolving, guys. Hindi siya one time, big time. As the weeks go by, as you continue creating screens, definitely dadagdag yung inventory nyo. And then documentation, yan siya. Actually, malalayo lang sila sa isa't isa, pero nasa isang files lang lahat yung buttons, cards. And then beneath them is yung mga components ko. And to answer yung question kanina ni Erickson about type, actually, kung makikita nyo, meron akong mga textiles. So I have large and so on. Actually, ang ayaw ko lang talaga sa Figma by far is hindi niya nare-record yung colors. So kailangan ko pang, let's say, gusto ko ng large. So, ayun na lang to. Ay, hindi pala siya ganun gumagana. So, ganyan. Tapos, gusto ko ng large. So, yun. Kailangan ko pang pumindot ng fill. Let's say, ito. Meron kasi ako dito sinet na mga text. Gusto ko ng text na link. Kasi hindi niya nakikip yung colors. So, ngayon, ang ginagawa ko back then, actually hanggang ngayon, which is mas trip ko. So, meron ako sa assets ko, which I call, type. So, ito yung mga types ko. I have a body, callout, and so on. So, let's say, kailangan ko ng 15 pixels. So, actually, meron akong ready-made. Yan. So, nakaganyan siya. And then, this is how white, orange. Is it right aligned? Is it centered aligned? Basta na center yan. kailangan ko walang regular. So, mas efficient siya for me rather than going through those. Hindi ko alam kung ako lang yun at para sa inyo ay mas madali yung isa. At so, kaya pag tinignan niyo yung textiles ko, where's my types? Ano sa taas siya? Type ko ay boom. Yan siya. So, pinaghirapan ko siyang gawin. So, meron ako as in lahat ay, lahat may naka-variants. So, puro variants yan. Different styles and different alignment. So, actually, maganda siyang pastime. So, pwede niyo siyang gawin kung gusto niyang gawin tong route ko. Pero kung gusto niyo naman ng madalian, well, pwede kayo dun sa, itong mga textiles and then color styles. So, going back. Okay, so, again, guys, so, I think I'm almost done. So those are the 3 mindset and 2 practices of how we can make somehow like a legit design system. How you can scale a design system, the mindset of making a consistent one, how to use variants and toggles that scales, how you can name them that any designer can understand, which is using alphabetical order, and how you can document it, which is yung pinagkaiba ng legit design system is yung documentation. But still, you can do it even though isa kang attractive or dalawa kayong attractive na designers lang. So that's Imposter design system, faking one while making it. And thank you. So if you can follow me, actually, you can find me in these tags. Ay, ano ba to? Itong mga mentions na to, Mariel Riel or Riel M. I'm also in Medium. Basta mahanap yun naman ako. And I open this time for any Q&A or any sharing. So maraming salamat.
Nako, maraming salamat, Riel. Oh my God. Sobrang kulit lang kasi kanina may araw pa, tapos kinuwala na.
Oo, ngayon nga wala. Ginabi na tayo.
Pero legit, seriously. I see the comments in the chat section. There are a lot of questions actually, and hopefully we can run things down because they are really interesting.
Sure.
In order of the people who asked na lang sa Q&A tab. So let's start with si Eric. Kasi you have your own naming convention, di ba? Yung 5 levels, di ba? Yung question ni Eric is, do you recommend reading through Atomic Design? Or do you apply that with the technique that you're using right now?
Cool. Natatakot ako kay Erickson kasi ang dami ng tanong, hindi ko nakasagot. Anyway, so do I recommend Atomic Design? Definitely yes. I would say dun tayo lahat nag-start with Atomic Design. Siguro dumating na lang ako sa point na in-eliminate ko na yung mga bagay-bagay. Kasi alam ko, if I remember correctly, 5 layers yun eh. Merong atoms, molecules, organisms, pages, and so on. And para nangyari na lang sa system ko ay meron na lang akong mga organisms or atoms, and then I jump straight to components na. So siguro the way I do it has evolved through time. Pero ito if you are starting in design system, highly recommend and please do read Atomic Design. Yun na lang masasabi ko. If you're a newbie in design system, do read Atomic Design. Yun yung foundation of doing it. And then as you gain experience, magkakaroon ka na ng way mo of how to fit it to your preference. So I hope, Erickson, na-answer ko. At kung may tanong ka pa, I'll try to answer.
Cool. Oh my God. Thanks for that. Yeah. Actually, in line yung mga next few other questions you mentioned sa Atomic Design. So there's another question from Red.
Okay.
What are the items you put together in one page and separate in different pages? And that said, what different pages do you usually have to organize in the design system? So I think where she's coming from is ano yung mga major na categories kuno?
Okay, cool. Sige. So, okay, I have one. My index, my overview, yun yung documentation part. Yun yung makikita niyo yung mga blocks. So I call that inventory index. Second page I have is the documentation itself. Yun yung nakita niyo na sinet ko lahat ng rules and guidelines and screenshots. Para kung meron pumasok na new designer, makikita niya, okay, ito pala ina-apply itong buttons na to. Third is I have a page called Foundations. Pero ano siya, Foundations, pero may nakatab siya. Yung foundations, nandun yung mga masasabi kong atoms, referring to atomic design. Nandun yung icons, colors, typography, and illustrations na lang po sinasama ko doon. And then lastly is I have components. Components is now the combination of all the patterns or combination of all my atoms that makes up the buttons, that makes up the navigations, that makes up so on and so forth. So yun yung mga, I would say yun yung, 4 pages that I do have. And then, okay, briefly share lang ako ng skin gels.
Go ahead.
Okay. So kung makikita mo red, yeah, so overview, inventory index, documentation. So itong si foundation actually blank talaga siya. Kasi ang prioritize ko is ma-highlight tong mga nasa baba. So in short, itong mga to is under foundation. And then under my components, ito na yung fun part. Nandyan yung lahat ng mga bars, buttons, and then cards, categories. So, and so on and so forth. And ano lang parang it's fine if you name it differently. Hindi naman kailangan na pare-pares tayo ng terms for it. Pero ayun, I mean, what works for you works for you. So, yeah, those are my pages.
Pareho lang ba siya kapag may ginagawa ko ibang projects? Like, yun yung mga base pages mo?
Actually, oo. Parang napansin ko yun yung mga base page, yun yung mga base pages ko talaga. And ang nag-iiba na lang ay yung mga component names ko.
Salamat. Shoutout pala kay Royce for outlining what you said a while ago. So,
Salamat.
Okay. There was a question from a while ago, I think.
Sure.
From a few minutes back.
So
Chris is a new designer. So
hi, Chris.
What do you mean when you say having a North
Star? Nice question.
Yung parang yung context nun was yung when we were talking about the PMs, diba? Parang North Star.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, sure. That's why I love working with PMs. They kill our North Star. Okay, anyway, what do I say when it's North Star? So North Star is how you proceed your design, let's say 1 year from now, or what is the ideal design, irrespective of developers' effort or irrespective of PMs telling you not to do it. Paano mo siya nakikita? Paano yung ideal experience? So that's why the problem kasi na usually that we have is dahil si PM, ika-cut off niya yung mga designs ko at gagawin niya MVP version, hindi na ako mag-think beyond it. Gagawin ko na lang yung feasible. But actually, that's not our job as designers. We're not hired to design only feasible ones. We design what is feasible. Okay, we design what is desirable and ideal, irrespective of time, irrespective of how many engineers that you have. Pero yun lang, I mean, and siguro, just be ready. So yun nga, have your North Star, which is the ideal state, and be ready that your PM will definitely cut it out. And then it's now a matter of having that debate with your PMs of, no, I have to push this. I have to have this in my design. So yun siya. So there's a different story of how you can talk to your PM about it. Pero yan, that's what North Star is. Always have that North Star.
Grabe. Seryoso. Sobrang feels. Kasi
Di ba? Masakit eh.
Kasi like after we parted ways with our previous lives, kasi I did some PM work as well. So gets ko from both designers and product management perspective, and kaaway nga talaga. No, just kidding. Recorded pala to, oh my God. So,
oo nga pala. Pero
okay.
ito yun.
Okay. Are you okay with answering a couple more questions?
Yeah, sure.
Because some of them are pouring in. So
no worries. Okay lang yan, Jobs.
Ayun. Herbert, from a while ago, is asking, how do you start building a design system from scratch? Yeah. Do you have any tips on how to go about? Because a while ago, you expounded on making the screens first before actually the components, and it differs from when we work together, right? And that's how I do it as well on my end. So how do you start building from scratch?
Okay.
If you can quickly demo.
Sure. So sige, I'll do a demo. So hi Herbert, thank you for the question. Okay, let me do a demo. Okay, share my screen. So basically, let's say, ano bang magandang scenario? Okay, so sabi ko kanina, I start with screen, di ba? So usually yung process ko, kukuha na lang ako ng, sorry may Gojek ako dito. Kukuha na lang ako ng, ano bang maganda? Wait lang Sige, quick wins. So ito kasi mga ad hoc projects ko sa work. So usually the way I do it is magto. Hold on. Okay, ito na lang. Okay, so the way I do it, I start with the screens. So I don't deal first with the design components. So gagawin ko, okay, kailangan ko ng artboard. Let's say si iPhone 11 Pro. At ngayon, kailangan ko ng tawag dito ng okay. Sige, gusto ko dapat meron tayong basis muna. So, stay put lang kayo dyan. Hahanap lang ako ng magandang. Nasaan yung home on?
Feel free to stop sharing pala kasi I'm really worried about NDAs. Baka kasi
Oo nga pala.
So,
Oh, guys, wag nyo na lang picturean or mag-screenshot. Okay, anyway. So, let's say, okay, maging progressive tayo. Okay, cool. So, ngayon, ito yung first version of home. So, meron akong first version ng home. Ngayon, kailangan kong mag-add ng, meron kaming feature na gusto namin, meron kaming daily inspiration, which is itong part na to. So, una kong ginawa, so kung titingnan nyo actually, basag-basag pa yan. So, in short, hindi talaga, naka-frame pa to, hindi talaga siya naka-component. Kasi ang una kong ginagawa is, I design the screens first. So, it doesn't have to be all componentized. I don't know if the term is correct. I just design the screen first. And then now, that's when I start doing components. So for example, this one, I can make this as a component. So what I would do, let's say I would copy, I go to my design system, I go to my icons, I plug it in, and then I do some shit and stuff, and then boom, gagawin ko na siyang create component, and apply my naming convention. So let's say C, copy, yan. So ganun ko siya gagawin. So if you can see, saan ang ginagawa ko? Yan. And then this one, okay, nandiyan na siya. Bakit? Kasi component na siya since then. So itong format na to, actually, pwede ko siyang gawing component din. So let's say, kung gagawin ko siyang component, so kung makikita nyo again, basag-basag po siya. So ika-copy ko siya. Pupunta ko agad sa design system ko, and let's say, gusto kong gumawa ng component called, ano ba, sige, let's say gusto ko siyang tawagin na section. Kasi it eats up a section of my design. And since section siya, gusto ko siyang ilagay sa component, and alphabetically arrange din tayo. So dito siya. So ipipaste ko siya dyan. And then gagawa ko siya ng background. So let's say 375 with ganyan. Wait lang. Okay. So, gagawa ko ng rectangle part. Lagay ko sa likod. And wait, 375. So, 375 kasi yung phone na ginagamit ko ay 375. Tapos, fill color ko, base ko ay white. And then, ayan. Then, I would start doing some auto layout. So, bakit auto layout? Kasi, kunyari, let's say, apply the thinking of scalability. Auto layout tayo. Paano ngayon kapag sobrang haba niyan? Diba? So ngayon, kailangan ko ngayon i-auto layout to. And also the same thing with, ano pa ba? Let's say ito, paano pag sobrang haba at sobrang ikli? Paano ko ngayon i-ayusin tong lines na to sa tigkabila? So that's how I do it. Again, I start from the screen itself, and then I move stuff to design system and do the magic in there. Ayun lang naman. Okay. So that's it. I hope I answered your question, Herbert. Kasi Herbert ba yun? Ayun. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
He shares the same. He shares the same feedback.
Oh, nice.
Ayun, demo pa raw on core. we have a couple more questions. Hopefully you're okay.
Cool, sige.
Salamat,
Yeah, I'm fine.
Sige. Christian is asking if you have any tips for design systems that will work on web and mobile. So,
Pag question, yung sinabi mong mobile ay mobile web or is it mobile as in phone app?
can Christian expound on that real quick?
Yeah. Kasi kaya ko sila tanong kung mobile app ba siya or mobile web kasi iba yung disciplines nila eh.
Phone app now.
Phone app. So yeah, so if it's then it is for a design system that will work on web and mobile. Web and mobile. To be honest, it's a web or mobile. Hindi mo siya pwedeng mapagsama na itong specific design system na to will work on both. Definitely you have to create a design system, one for web, kasi it's a different discipline at napaka technical or ang daming mo kailangan actually consider kapag web kasi ang daming sizes nila. And then mobile, it's another design system. So yung tip ko ay create two, one for web and one for mobile. But for web, I would say create for the smallest size of desktop screen. Kasi ang problema kapag nag-start ka sa big desktop screen, paano pag pinaliit yun ngayon ng engineer or let's say maliit na device. So mamomblema ka, hindi pala siya kasya. So kaya I would suggest go to the small scales and with mobile naman, I just use iPhone 11 kasi ewan ko, siguro yung mga engineers kasi ang mindset ko lang ay kaya nila i-scale yan. So kaya yung ginagawa ko sa mobile. Pero yun. So I hope I was able to answer your question. Okay.
Iba rin kasi yung diba?
Mm.
So, was responsive versus mobile na constricted siya. So plus one.
True.
Okay. So
cool.
we have some more.
Sure.
Ilan na lang siya. So Carla asks, how do you deal with different platforms? May built-in po ba kayong switch and toggle view sa Figma? Pag gusto mong i-view sa mobile or web lang yung design or set clip?
So how do I, wait lang, ayun pala kayo. So, sorry, yung question is how do I deal with different platforms?
Yeah. So, may experience ka na ba sa ibang projects mo na you had to deal with the actual product and web counterpart of the platform? So how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Or how would you?
How would I deal? So one is I've never dealt with like doing two kinds of platforms, like one for web and one for mobile. Pero ang masasabi ko lang ay again, it's totally two different things. Ang web at mobile, it's a different mindset. And I would just stay in mobile kasi iba talaga yung mindset ng web eh. So ang masasabi ko lang ay wait lang, na-lost ako ng track. So yung question niya is, any tips for how to handle yung ganong web and mobile, correct? To be honest, ang advice ko lang ay, mamili ka na lang ng isa. So, ayun, practically speaking, mamili ka talaga ng isa. Kasi, ayun you can, unicorn ka if you can think twice. I think, unicorn ka if isip ka kung how to deal with web and how you would deal with a mobile. Pero yun, just choose between those two. Do you want to go web or do you want to go mobile? And also, ang good thing kasi rin is mahasa ka because you're just specialized in one thing. And I know may mga iba magsasabi, generalist kami. Pero yun, so, mas okay yung hasado ka sa isang bagay.
Sobrang funny because the people in the chat, parang sinabi nila na mag-hire ka na lang isa pang design. Pero sa inyo ba, sa work mo, may ibang gumagawa ng marketing website nyo, diba?
Yes. Yeah, true. So actually, if let's say for Grab, so si Grab ay merong gumagawa ng mobile, and under mobile may iba't ibang designers nang gumagawa ng ng mga screens din. So actually, tas kung may web, ibang designer din yun. Kung merong website na marketing, ibang designer na naman din yun. Yung tama yan, hire another designer.
Okay.
Oo.
We have one last question, if you don't
Sure,
mind.
go ahead.
Okay. Okay, this is an interesting question from Margie. My question siya. I have a question about design systems and legacy products. Implementing a design system is not an action, but a process. Yeah. Especially when considering, where the technology uses old. What is your idea about this? So, I think the question is coming from a perspective kung how would you handle legacy products if I understood this correctly?
I think so. Yun din yung question niya. How do you handle legacy products? Piling ko pang Miss Universe yung tanong. No, anyway, kidding aside, napaisip ako legacy products. Okay. So how do I handle? One, I do a UI audit. So let's say legacy product at gusto mong gumawa ng design system for it. Do a UI audit at definitely you would see 5 kinds of button with the same function and with the same context. Ayun. So sinuot ko lang yung consistency mindset. Or sometimes you would see 10 or more kinds. So ano siya, yun yung tedious task sa simula. Do an inventory of it. And then start thinking paano mo siya ma-unify as one, wherein it still solves and serves its purpose being a button A, being a button B, being a button C. So, ayun, I mean, siguro yun yung tip ko, start from the bottom, which is UI audit. And then see also experience audit, I would say, how does it go? And then as well, ano pa ba? Do the audit first and then look at it. What can you combine together? What can you remove? Kasi ang goal mo naman yung design system, tama yung sinabi mo, it's actually a process. And at the same time, it's aside from process, it's also a very valuable deliverable. And it's something to be delivered and it's evolving as well. So, ayun. So, alam ko masakit sa ulo yung mga legacy products, pero yeah, do an audit, create a design system for it, and then if your team doesn't want, then fight for it. Laban lang.
May awayan pang kaya talaga may awayan pang
Meron kasing iba, di ba? Parang ayaw nilang mag-spend ng man hours for such thing.
Exactly.
May mga ganun eh. Okay. Oh no, close na QA about the scalable button earlier. Okay, sorry may nakita lang ako. Sige, try ko lang answer to.
Go ahead.
About the scalable button earlier, why were you using a rectangle as the button container instead of designing the frame where the icon plus text are? Okay, para isipin ko. About the scalable button earlier, why were you using a rectangle as the button container? Okay, instead of designing the frame where the icon plus text are. Oh, good question. So, bakit mo nga ba ginagawa yun? Na actually, hindi ko yung napansin. So parang feeling ko, gents, ang question mo ay bakit ako gumawa ng rectangle at pati hindi na lang yung frame yung ginawa ko. Okay, sige. Kasi para for me, pag dinatouch ko siya, at least yung frame, at least yung background, hindi matatanggal. Kasi pag dinatouch ko yun, okay, ito yung real life scenario. If you move to big startups, lahat ng mga design system, lahat ng mga product designers mo, i-redundant yung instance. At ako yun. I mean, so, di ba, merong design team, design system team. So, syempre, todo trabaho sila. Gawin ko yung design system. Pero the people who are using the design system, I bet you, lahat sila magdadetach instance. And I do the same thing. I've been detaching instance. Kasi, minsan, hindi scalable. Minsan, I have a new component to make. So, kaya, I make a rectangle. Kasi, kapag may ibang gumamit at dinetach instance niya, so, problemado pa siya. Gagawa pa siya ng rectangle niya. So, ayun. So, sa mga detached instancer dyan, appear tayo. Kasama ako doon.
God, sa mga madaling mag-detach, joke lang.
Ayun. Ayun pa ganon.
Pero it makes sense. Yeah, because I do that as well. Guilty. Guilty.
Diba? It's the easiest thing to do, detach. Oh, yes, Jels. Jels.
You touched on UI audit. Hopefully we can extend for a little bit. You touch on UI audit. How would you go? How would you go through a UI audit process? What would high level view? What are the step-by-step process that you would make?
Okay.
Summary.
UI audit. So actually, alam mo itong UI audit na to, na-realize ko, isa siya sa mga question din sa mga design interviews. So naalala ko one time I was in an interview and then tinanong ako. So it's a big startup and they asked me to critic an app on the spot. So you have to have a framework on how you can critic it. So siguro ituturo ko na lang yung mindset of how you can do a UI audit. So let's say we look at ano ba? Ano bang magandang sige, inisip ko kung Spotify. So I'll just share a screen sa Spotify. Sana maganda yung mga playlist ko dun. Baka i-judge nyo ako. Okay, yan. So I don't know if you see my screen. So lately pinapakinggan ko Hold On ni Justin Bieber. So let's imagine ourselves doing a UI audit and at the same time doing an app critic. So one thing, I start first with, so let's say meron ako interviewer. So okay, start ka na, critic ka na ng app. So how I would do it is, I tell what the app is about, who is its users, and how they monetize. So if ever you go through it. So ano to, ipapag-mash up ko lang yung critic app and then UI audit. So I would say this is Spotify. Its users are artists who want to showcase their music into the world. It is a platform. Second is listeners who wants to discover and explore new music or who wants to follow their artists that they love. And how they monetize is through freemium. They are free first, but if you want to go and continue the route of no ads, then that's why you purchase it and then boom, you have it. So now I go to the critic app. So I first started navigation. So ngayon, sisingit ko na ngayon yung UI audit. So sa UI audit, papansin ko na they have this main navigation. So since they all look alike, they're already one component. They have an icon, same font and all. So one component na to. And then, balik lang ako sa navigation. Apart from that, I see na meron silang your library and playlist. So as you can see, same ng style ng headlines, same ng style to mga nasa baba. These two are one component or one section. Depende sa inyo kung paano siya i-name. Okay, so meron na tayong two components. We can name this as main nav, and we can name this as supporting nav. So imagining na lang. Then another navigation that I can see is, okay, I have here a navigation of arrows. So ito, I bet this is a whole component to shortcuts. And as you can see, it is being used for the next one. So meron na siyang one component used several times. So yun. So I look at what looks alike and how they function. So itong si shortcuts na to, they function as repository of all the playlist or music. And kung titignan nyo, si component na to, ginamit nila yung same context and functionality ng shortcuts with recently played. Kasi same naman sila ng function to be a repository of playlist and music. So, ayun. And ano pa ba? So, I talk about navigation. I talk about, so let's say search as well. So, ito, another component to. It could be a search bar. And then when it comes to buttons, so sorry, all over the place lang ako. I have find something here, find friends. Pero let's see if meron pa siyang ibang kaparehas. Okay, wala na ako nakikita kaparehas. Okay, so let's say punta lang ako sa isa. Okay, so si find friends, meron siyang variant. I would say si play. Nakita niyo yun? They're actually the same, but this is, I would say this is their primary CTA button, and this is their supporting or maybe tertiary button. Kasi naka-outline siya and all. So this is, so kung sa Figma, itong dalawang to ay, ano ba to? The functionality is button, but they don't share the same variants kasi magkaiba sila ng context. So, ayun. So, siguro yun ay high-level view. Tapos, yun, mag-wrap up ka na lang. Okay, I'll go back to the screen. Okay.
Thank you. So probably the biggest lesson there is just be mindful of things that are repeating and consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. Wait lang.
Oh,
I'll cue the
sige.
audience for last 2 questions, if you don't mind.
Sige.
Ay,
Yung sabi ni Chi pala, sorry, sige, habang lagi tayo. Sabi ni Chi, wow, even monetization is concerned. So true, kasi parang, so yung product designers, as we know, we think about the product itself. So we have to know how our product monetize, who our users are, and ano pa ba? Yeah, the business side of it. Kasi ano parang yun na yung product designers being totally holistic. So we have to know how they monetize. Kasi paano kung may napunta sa yung project na, kailangan mo increase yung revenue ng 20%. Yeah, o yan, paano tayo kakain? Mm. Okay, sige, meron bang question?
si Reg
Okay.
nag-raise ng hand. Uy, Reg, ano ba tanong mo?
Hoy, Reg! Oo. Itong si Reg, hindi namamansin. Si Reg, magta-typing na yan. Sige, any questions? So I hope guys may natutunan kayo. Actually, kinakabahan ako kanina kasi sabi ko, wala, baka hindi mag-detach, baka hindi mag auto layouts. Okay, thanks Christian.
Okay.
So kung meron kayong you can just find me anywhere. Feeling ko
Anyway,
naman mahanap yun naman.
sa may kanto, ganun. Hindi, joke.
Oo. Wala, sa kanto lang ako. Baka may hawak akong soju.
Oh my God.
Ay, masarap ng soju na may Yakult. Okay, anyway, kidding aside.
Ayun. I think we're yeah.
Okay, nice.
Wait,
Okay.
do you want to share
Sure.
links to your social media?
Sige.
You want to share? Yeah.
Okay, so dahil wala akong FB, yung Medium article ko na lang, dahil pinagkakitaan ko siya. Ayan po, rielm.medium.com. So sa LinkedIn, search ko na lang LinkedIn, ito naman din po. Oo, alam nyo, kumikita pala sa Medium. Try nyo magsulat. Meron akong pang breakfast minsan, pang grocery. So masaya.
Uy, nice na nagulat
Okay.
ako kasi when I was searching for your articles for sharing, napansin ko na may star yung articles mo. I was like, oh, that's so nice.
Oo, kailangan natin kumita ng pera, Jerms. Ang mahal na eh.
Hirap
Ang
po.
mahal dito din. Chicken rice na lang ako ng chicken rice.
Uy, pero legit, salamat. Thank you for
Thank
you
you
for your
rin.
time. Oh my God, seriously.
Sure, man.
Everyone had a good time actually. Ang ganda rin ng reception na ng mga questions and everything. So I hope everyone learned. Yeah, thanks for the links as well, and hopefully kapag may mga tanong pa kayo, they can search you there.
Yeah. Find me anywhere and I'll be there. And continue to be attractive designers. Sabi ko, di ba? Yan ang Imposter's design system. We are attractive designers, so be proud.
Speaking of attractive, kanina pa ako gusto kong sabihin na sobrang fresh mo. Nagbakulay ka ba ng buhok?
Hoy! Salamat, girls. Pero black pa rin yung buhok ko. Siguro nabago lang, nagpapa-facial na ako this time.
Grabe. Transformation
Baka lighting lang.
Singapore effect ba yan? Singapore effect.
Feeling ko Singapore effect. Kaya lang hindi ako nagmukhang yung accent ko Pinoy pa rin eh. Hindi pa rin naging English.
Walang kaso yun.
Pero ayun. So sige, pasalamatan ko yung facial ko dito. Sabi ko, uy, facial, salamat.
Sabi ni AJ, lockdown glow daw.
Ay, nako. Pero wag na tayo mag-lockdown. I mean, nakakamiss lumabas eh, no?
Exactly.
Ay, nako. Nakakamiss.
Hopefully the next time we meet up, it's actually used to be of a crowd. So,
yeah. I hope. At makita ko at makita ko talaga na legit na mga tao. Mamaya, bot pala kayo, guys, ha? Sana totoo kayo, ha? Sila Roy, sila Red, sila Jim, Herbert. I hope hindi kayo bot.
Oh my God. Ang conversation. Pero, Riel, salamat. Thank you so much.
Sure, thanks, Jelvin.
Nice
Thank you for inviting me. And guys, ayun, see you around. And I hope ay natutunan kayo. Just message me if you have any questions and I'll be happy to answer. At maraming salamat, friends of Figma.
Thank you so much. Just to quickly wrap up the event. Again, thanks, Riel. Usap tayo after. Sige. But for those people who are still not in the group head to Figma, head to Friends of Figma Philippines. You can search for it in Facebook. And yes, Chi is sending in the links there. So huge thanks, Chi. Friends on Figma also has a Facebook page where you can like and stay updated with whatever it is that we're working on. Like today's session with Riel. Super thankful pa rin ako. Also on Twitter, we're actually active sharing the events there as well. If you can give us a like, a follow, maybe subscribe on YouTube. We'll actually be putting up this video after as well. So again, huge thanks. Hope you have a good day, good night, good evening, wherever you are. Riel, magandang gabi. Hope you have a good dinner. Kung di ka pa nakapag-dinner.
Yep,
So
I will have a good dinner.
it's a TGIF Friday.
Yes.
Thank God it's Friday. Legit. Thank you, everyone. And hope to see you soon in another edition of Figma Fridays. Legit. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Salamat.
Have a great weekend.